Right, today's news. Um, what do you think good old Luxo has reversed on his opinion today?
Oh, yeah, I was spicy about this one today. I think it was yesterday that he was trying to gaslight Chloe Schwarbrick when she brought
Mm.
up the fact that his language on potential privatization had softened. And Christopher
Mm.
Luxon said to her in the house that she was in a dark and conspiratorial mood
Mm.
about
Yes.
privatization. And not more than 24 hours later, it is
Mm-hmm.
now, well, we might campaign on privatization next election.
Yeah, and she called him out in October last year as well, saying, "Are you following the Tories' playbook in defunding or underfunding our public services, and then showing how shitty they look and how shittily they work, and then pave the way for privatization and get people on board for the idea." And he said the same thing then. You got your little conspiracy hat on there, Chloe, which is very.
Isn't isn't that funny? Whenever you point at them and you point out something incredibly obvious,
Mm-hmm.
like it's something they've tried before. It's something that the Tories in the UK did, and of course, Tories and National have incredibly close ties. They did it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it looks like they're doing the same thing here and people notice, they go, no, you're crazy. You crazy lefties. You're always going on about this. And it's like, motherfucker, we're always going on about it because you're always trying to do it. And we haven't forgotten what happens. We pay more for worse services. And that's what it
Yep.
is. Like, and then 10, 15 years down the track, we end up having to buy those services back, and then the cycle repeats. Only this time, it seems like you're very, very clearly looking at the Ministry of Health, which I think everybody is super nervous about. So, if you want to make it an election issue, I urge you to, because you will fucking lose.
Especially if they
Winston
make it
will
about
turn on
health.
you.
Yeah, that too. That's part of the story as well. But I think the thing with health, if they go with privatization of health, I think because we've got the example of America, that is very, very risky. Because, good old Mangione made himself sort of public news, worldwide news, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not unknown to everyone that the American health system is so broken beyond imagination. So, if we can paint the picture of that's what privatization looks like in our healthcare system, or that's the road we're going down towards the American pathway, then hopefully that will make people a little bit more nervous about voting for them. Who knows?
I
But
mean, the American example is obviously an extreme one. You can look at the midpoint, which is the NHS in
yeah,
England, which
yeah,
was the gold standard for social healthcare.
mm,
Like that was what it is. And the Tories there have been in power so long, and when Labour was in power over there, they were just basically Tory light. Um, the enshittification of the NHS began, and suddenly you've got wait lists and you've got quotas, and people aren't getting as good service. And when you're not getting good service and you're stuck on a wait list, and you end up being shuffled off to private anyway, then people start to go, well, am I getting good value for my taxes? And then someone comes in and goes, no, you're not getting good value for your taxes. The government shouldn't be in charge of healthcare. They never do it right, so we might as well sell it. And then when you've got no other option, guess what? Someone's extracting profit out of sick people. And then we all need a Luigi to come along and sort of put his thumb on the scale. Speaking of Luigi, have you noticed how he's disappeared out of the headlines? You noticed that?
I
Not the
froze,
memes.
but yes.
You still see the memes about Luigi, but the news stories with his picture have disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
They're using
Until he comes
stock
back with his
photos.
court case.
Yeah, because I think the news media in the US got a hell of a fright when people went, "Yeah, we get it." Also, he's really good looking. He's fucking hot, and he's he's taking out healthcare insurance CEOs. Yeah, we're for it. Robin Hood. Let's all get guns. And the news just fucking gone, oh shit, what have we done? Get him out.
Yeah.
Like actually editorial staff were telling reporters not to use photos of him and that sort of thing because they realized they fucked up real bad.
I don't think anyone suspected that, but it's certainly one of those things that everyone sympathized with him, which yeah. All right, well, let's throw up Yelled. No, carry on. What were we gonna say?
I was just going to say my favorite thing about that healthcare CEO is I remember a short interview with the CEO's wife, who was basically, her whole attitude was like, well, I'm sad my husband's gone, but I get it.
Oh wow, I haven't seen that.
It was really weird. I'd have to hunt it out, but and I'm very much paraphrasing, but she didn't seem too bummed. So grim.
It says a lot, doesn't it? Or she was just probably in shock. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see what her psyche was like after that. Right, back to New Zealand then, shall we? Let's have a look at what Chloe said back in October, and then through to what Winston says, because he is very well known for being anti-privatisation, which is one of the things where I go, Winston, you're constantly doing this to me. Do I like you? Do I not? What are you going to be, our savior or our downfall? So let's see what the older
election conversation.
Quite a different answer than he gave Chloe Swarbrick last year.
Are the government's choices to underfund critical infrastructure like our hospitals, our schools and our ferries essentially just setting them up to fail to pave the way for an eventual sell-off of these crucial assets that we all own?
The member's in a very dark and conspiratorial mood today.
Pretty bloody ludicrous that in October of last year, just a few months ago, the Prime Minister and his offsiders were all laughing at me, calling me a conspiracy theorist for raising the idea of privatisation. Yet now they're being pretty explicit that that's exactly what they intended to do.
Asset sales have been controversial. A majority voted against them in a 2013 citizens-initiated referendum, but John Key pushed forward and went on to win the next election.
Is a mandate from the public an election result, or would you take that to a referendum, any asset sales?
No, an election result would be obviously a mandate for us to move forward with the program of work that we want to move forward with.
But watching on is one man who may stand in the way.
Give me a break.
I
spent my whole career ensuring that our assets stay in our possession.
I think the public appetite is for better infrastructure, better roads, better pipes, better pumping stations, more homes for the next generation. Yes. And if we can use the $570 billion worth of stuff the government owns to get a better deal on that stuff, I think they'll go for it.
David Seymour has pitched for the...
Isn't it interesting that we're already seeing three very different positions in one coalition? Is that normal? Have we seen that when it's a left coalition?
Any of this normal? No, it's not normal. It
looks like infighting.
Something as important as asset sales, and this is what we're talking about when the right will just fucking do it. Like national, like an election result is a mandate. We'll just do what we want if we win. There is no way. This is the criticism that we had of Labour, is that they had almost an absolute fucking majority, and then they did it. They fiddled on the edges. They had no clear vision when we know that there's people that don't know what needs to be done. Here is your lesson, future left coalition. National's okay with it if you win an election, full speed ahead. Fully automated luxury socialism, go. Wealth tax, go. Hospital rebuilds, go. A massive project of building social housing to crash the housing market, but everybody's got a house now. That's what winning an election means. Luxon just told you, don't forget it. You win an election, you've got a mandate to implement your wildest dreams. Don't stop. Don't pause. Don't speak to the press. Just fucking do it. That's what they're setting. But yes, exactly as you said, we're back in the position where Luxon's stuck in the middle going, yeah, we might win an election. David Seymour's selling off the silverware, and Winston on the back of a horse is sweeping away with the country's silverware just so Seymour can't sell it. It's fucking weird.
Mm.
It's
Doesn't look
super,
good, does
super
it?
weird. But yeah, it is concerning. Like, if they're going to campaign on it, as I said, I hope they campaign on it. I hope they campaign on it, and I hope they get their asses handed to them. If you put our healthcare on the chopping block, you will lose. 100%.
I hope so. Well, the next part of this is they're talking about what things Kiwis have said, because we love a poll. They don't want the government to sell off, and it's already in your picture.
The government to consider a privatisation of the inter-islander ferries, but 3 News can reveal the public wants them to remain public, with a new Talbot Mills poll showing 54% support publicly owned rail-enabled ferries, while 11% want publicly owned ferries that are not rail-enabled, 12% want partially privatised ferries that aren't rail-enabled, while 23% are unsure. The total supporting publicly owned ferries a clear majority, 65%, up 7 percentage points from when that question was asked in October 2024.
Well, I hope I already know that. Of course I've already known that.
It also says that...
It's one of the reasons why, when railways was privatised, we got it back in public ownership, because they collapsed the whole industry and better save it.
Do you have the personal popularity to be able to sell asset sales to the electorate?
Again, I just say to you, that's not a topic of conversation right now.
Let the battle of coalition ideologies begin.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting that he says about Kiwi Rail, because isn't exactly what happened in the UK as well? They sold off all their rail network and it just tanked it.
Oh, hilariously so. Because when they sold off their rail network, all of European, I think it was European retirement funds bought it and put the prices up. So I mean, that was like, if governments cannot see the value of the things that they own, someone else is going to see it. And it's very clear that it's not going to be a New Zealand-based entity that decides it wants to buy the Inter-Islander. And they're aware of the language of privatization. They want to avoid it being called privatization at all cost. Public-private partnerships. Yeah, they know this. Throughout the 90s, this has been burned into people's heads that it was bad. We sold off Kiwi Rail to a Canadian company called Toll. We had to buy it back off them because they just extracted value and just ran everything down. You know, it's asset stripping is probably more to the point. But we don't call it that now because that's very scary. So we're just going to call it a public-private partnership. The public part of it is we have the stuff. The private thing is a big company from overseas coming in to extract value. They don't come in to reinvigorate. They don't come in to improve things, because that means you're spending money. They don't do it to spend money. They do it to make money. And I think innately everybody understands that. I look at that survey about what people want from their ferries, and I despair, because 23% of people saying that they didn't want rail-enabled ferries, or 25% of people don't want rail-enabled ferries. Those people should never be asked a question again. Like this is like 54% of people publicly owned rail-enabled ferries. That is the correct answer. 11% publicly owned ferries, but we want to hobble them by making sure that they don't take trains for some reason.
It's a strange number of questions, isn't it? I feel like they omitted one that had such a small result, which maybe was partially privatized. Rail-enabled?
Just it should be fully privatized, I think, is the one that is missing here that nobody wanted. Yeah, 12% partially privatized ferries that are not rail-enabled. Like, that's the worst of every option. And 23% are unsure that New Zealand is made up of a series of islands. I think is that. Like, I just drive it. It's just weird. Like, and I think part of this is, again, Labour maybe didn't do a great job of explaining the massive win that they got with IREX. Like, we didn't see like, we have scored the deal of all deals. Everybody says it's a great deal. These things are going to be great for 30 years. We have checked every box. We've spoken to everyone. We've workshopped the ass out of this. This is the perfect custom-made ferry for the next 30, 40 years in New Zealand. We are the party of infrastructure. It belongs to you, New Zealand. And the media certainly wasn't helping them out there at all, because the media is always the adversary. And, maybe they should be. But also, they just kept on echoing national talking points around it. The mega ferries, the gold-plated ferries, the Ferraris, all of that sort of stuff, which was absolute nonsense. They should have been able to look through that. There should have been someone in the media to go, National says that these are Ferraris. National says that they're gold-plated. We've compared other ferries from around the world. And look, what we've come up with is they're fucking perfect. That's what I would have liked. But that opportunity has been squandered. We don't know where things are going. And National is, again, kicking the can down the line because they cancelled them without any plan in place. And remember, I think it was Nikki Noboats that said there would be another announcement in March. Her announcement of an announcement at the end of last year was that there would be an announcement about the ferries in March. So that is rapidly approaching. Rapidly. So, yeah.
I do wonder if our news media is not very good at doing enough analysis and too much just relaying what other people have said, if that makes sense. He said, she said type thing, as opposed to National have said this, here's what the data says. I mean, they do a bit of that where it's like, well, then this expert disagrees, but then this politician says this, but I don't know if they do enough in the middle of actually saying, here's the facts and the data, here's the analysis, and here's the reality of the situation, even if that reality of the situation favors one party or the other in what they've done. Do you think they do a good enough job of that, or are they?
I don't think they do a good job of it, and I think it's only going to get worse because we are in a news desert now. That analysis, look, the news media has always got to deal with a deadline, right? We've had, the government has put out this statement, and we've gone to the opposition to see what they think about it. And oh shit, there's an hour left in the day before I need to tape this or get it out there. And it ends up being, we've spoken to 3 people and here are their views, and we're not going to give you any context on this. We don't have the news shows that would do that. We don't have competing news organizations really at all. There's a few people doing some very, very good work, but like in the example of what we're talking about, has there been a deep dive into the IREX project and the cancellation of the IREX project? Has anyone held Nicola's feet to the fire and gone, you cancelled this, did you have a plan? Why was it cancelled? Really? Is that the truth? Like, when you said that there was a secondhand Corolla out there, did you know that there was? Did you ask anybody? Did someone tell you? These are the things that I would like to know. It's all too late. And I honestly think that we're not going to have an answer on the ferries by the election, which is, again, a gift. It's a horrible, horrible gift. Because it is a critical piece of national infrastructure. But it is something that I will not let go, and it is something that rightly this government should hang for. It's part of the state highway network. It's like letting the only bridge into town crumble because you don't want to spend the money on building a new bridge. It's bizarre. Yeah, Ashburton. Apparently, I have heard Ashburton is getting a second bridge. Yay, Ashburton.
Yes. Guess who's paying for it?
Public-private partnership?
The government. No,
not the
council themselves.
Okay. Oh,
no, it was a
Ashburton's
50-50
rates bill.
I think it was we'll do the bridge, but you have to do all of the infrastructure and everything in the roads around it. So basically, we'll do them in the middle, and you do everything else. So it's going to cost them, Ashburton ratepayers, not sure what they're under, but yeah, it's going to cost them. Ashburton District, I think it's technically.
Yeah,
It costs them
it is.
an arm and a leg, which is
I
but
have
they
a mate that works
desperately
for the
need a new
council.
bridge.
Yeah, you're 100% right. By the way, I had a big chat to my mate who works in the council, and he was like, "Yep, this is how it's working. It kind of makes sense, but it's kind of like, come on, come on."
So it'll be like rubble for ages, and this beautiful bridge, and then rubble for ages because
Just a gravel road.
Yeah. Or the bridge will be like perfect, but whatever's on top is just gravel and dirt, just kicks up the dust. Oh no. Well, I look forward to using it at least. Whenever that happens, 10 years from now, we'll see.